Was that a smattering of applause? Is that what you would call that? Next slide. Next slide. No, wait. Okay. While they're doing a thing, we're going to have a little story time today. And so I need you to pay attention and keep our hands to ourselves. I see that. Don't make me go librarian on you. So today we're going to start with the story, To Be a Musketeer by Ben Brick. Now, it's very important when you open a book and there's a map that we look at the map. Now, you might not be able to see it as close, so you're probably going to have to buy a copy. And I should probably get a little bit of that funding. So my mom teaches first grade, and she loves reading her kids' books. And the most important part, because you want to get in the author's mind, is to always read the dedication. So to Rebecca and Dylan, the two greatest musketeers I've ever met. This book is also signed, so that might make it worth some more money. I don't know. Or less. We'll see. Yeah. Are you ready? All right. Gather round, kids. It's time to be a musketeer. The Queen's musketeers were the fastest, strongest, and bravest subjects in the land. Everyone wanted to be one, especially Frozy, who had big musketeer dreams for such an ordinary farm horse. He was not the fastest, or the strongest, or the bravest. And some days Frozy thought, maybe his dreams were too big. On days like that, Frozy's friend Bob encouraged him to keep going. Your dreams are just the right size, he would say. Someday you will see what I see. And that was usually the end of it. But today was different. Today, Lorenzo came to town and... Wait, you don't know Lorenzo? Why? Lorenzo eats the best sandwiches. He tells the best jokes and knows the best horses. He is the greatest musketeer who ever cut a pineapple with a single swipe of a sword. And today, it seems Lorenzo is looking for an extraordinary horse to help him save the Queen. Well, you must be thinking, this is Frozy's big chance. And it would have been if he wasn't 100% downright nervous. Suddenly, a loud bugle sounded calling for the best horses, and Frozy looked up at Bob. I'm sure you're the best at something, Bob said, and they walked together. Now we have a little of a mustache twist going on here, and if you ask nicely, Ben will do that for you. You don't even have to ask, he just does it. Arriving at the stable, Frozy settled down until the door opened with a boom. He couldn't believe his eyes. The musketeer was even more magnificent than he could have ever imagined. Lorenzo was large in spirit and small in size. In fact, a great size for Frozy. Maybe I do have a shot, Frozy thought as tryouts began. Blaze was first, a fast and nimble horse bursting out of the gate. He was fast, maybe even too fast. Next was Shadow, a big burly horse known to carry 20 hay bales in one cart. He was strong, maybe even too strong. Then came Star, sure-footed and brave, maybe even too brave, even for Lorenzo. Watching all this, Frozy felt slow, small, and scared. And he was next. As Lorenzo hopped into Frozy's saddle, his hooves felt heavy. He zigged, he zagged, and then he tripped, pitching Lorenzo into the air. The musketeer dismounted with a perfect front tuck. But that didn't make this any less embarrassing for Frozy. Giving up seemed like the honorable thing to do, so he did. Frozy returned with his head down. Bob was there to encourage him. "Oh, Frozy," Bob said, "every musketeer stumbles, and the best ones keep stumbling until they get it right." Frozy wondered how many times Lorenzo had stumbled to land so soft. The little horse took a deep breath and shook his nerves with a giant wiggle. Then he ran faster than ever back to the competition to try again. When he arrived, the contest was done. "I'm sorry," Lorenzo said, his back turned to Frozy. "I am tired and sore. There will be no more tryouts today." Then he turned around. His eyes widened, his mustache curled. "Oh, it is you," Lorenzo smiled. "You came back. Yes, you must try again." This time, they zagged, and with a new confidence, they jumped. They were both magnificent. Lorenzo patted Frozy's neck. "You're the best fit," he said. And with that, their adventures began. Together, they broke speed records, proved their strength, and tested their bravery, which all came in handy when saving the Queen. Now, whenever Frozy feels ordinary, and it happens a lot, he remembers what can happen even after a stumble. The end. Now I'm going to go to this side of the stage. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Yay! Now think of all your questions. What happens next to Frozy? Because we're going to have Ben Brick come up here later and give you the lowdown about that little horse. I will be your narrator today for our author panel. My name is Kayla. The last time I was here, I told you about the pin that I found at the garage sale, and that one was about thanks 100 million. This one says, "Get ahead, read," and it's got this little ostrich on it with his head in a hole. But I don't know how the ostrich community feels about that or their literacy level, so that might be kind of offensive. Didn't ask. It was a quarter, so. All right, let's get checked in. If this was a library, we'd check you out, but we're here now, so we want you to download the app. That was a long explanation for very little payoff. Even if you're online, download the app, check in, let us know that you're here so we can, get those numbers. You ready? Hey, who's a first timer? Raise your hand. We won't shame you. Oh, we have a few. Yeah, we're not going to shame. Yeah. Oh, so everyone say hi. Hi. Yep. I know I said hands to yourselves, but later if you see any of these folks, give them a high five. These are our sponsors. This is obviously a very fancy and well put on event, and we couldn't do that without these folks helping us out. So we're very, very thankful for them. Look at the drop shadow on these logos. That's how you know we care. There it is. All right, so if you're a new timer, or even if you forgot why you're here, you just wandered in and you need a reminder, what is 1 Million Cups? It's our free weekly program. We gather around with business leaders, with literary folks, the big minds of Bismarck and the surrounding area, and we want people to come together, start that dialogue, and tell us what you're about. Why do we do this? What's the big takeaway? Can we change the face of our community by these interactions? So what can we build starting here and going out into the real world? And we're going to have some coffee while we do it. That's an important part of it. All right. So now, if you've been thinking, shoot, what did happen to Frozy? We have a chance for you to ask your questions. So just keep letting it go in your mind. You can ask in person. We have this giant mug with a microphone inside. Raise your hand. We'll have a cup runner, and they'll come by and give it to you. Or if you're too shy, or if you're online, you can use hashtag 1MCND on the Twitter, and we'll get somebody to ask that for you. We want to know what you want to know. Okay, now is the time for community announcements. If you have something going on in the community you want to talk about, come right up here. Are these on? You guys can figure it out. It's like a button, and when it's green, it's on. I believe, yes, I put my own in first because I have that privilege. So I'm part of the Bizman Bombshells roller derby team. We did this cool thing where we did a fundraiser. We got the community some skates. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, June through July, you can head to the Capitol Ice Complex, rent some skates, go around in circles with us. We also have 2 free rink nights, and that's where we play some games, do a little limbo rock, and you can hang out with us. They have very tiny Wii skates, like the tiniest ones are this big. I don't know how big the biggest ones are, so you can bring your own. We accept scooters too if you're too scared to put wheels on your feet, it's fine. Okay.
This is working. Hi, everybody. My name is Lake and Ani. I am co-lead organizer for TEDx Bismarck. We are getting ready to launch this event August 12th right here at the Bismarck Event Center. Tickets are live. Our speakers have been announced on our website, tedxbismarck.com. It's going to be a rockin' awesome time, and we are going to celebrate the community and all of the big ideas worth spreading. So go to tedxbismarck.com, snag your ticket, and be sure to join us there. Hi, everybody. My name is Lake Anani. I'm program director at the North Dakota Women's Business Center. And we have Core Women coming to you. This is part 2 of our Imposter Syndrome series. So if you missed out on part 1 and you feel like you want to take in this fantastic event, feel free to do so. She's going to touch on what we had discussed originally and then dive a little bit deeper this time. So come and hang out with us. Again, tickets online, ndwbc.com or on Eventbrite. Or you can ask me and I'll hook you up. So anyway, those are all my hats. Enjoy 1 Million Cups.
You know who had imposter syndrome? Frozy.
All right, and we are in, my name is Janya Anderson, and I'm with Gizmonics, which has nothing to do with this announcement, but that's okay.
It's very important.
It's very important, yeah. Actually, I'm in part of the 1 Million Cups organizer group, and we are in the final countdown stages for our Go for launch. And so if you've been here before, I have mentioned it, but if you haven't, this is July 6th, 7th, and 8th. Now, I'm going to tell you about this amazing program, and you're going to get all excited, and then I'm going to tell you it's for people that are coming into the 8th grade or up through just graduated from high school. But basically, an astronaut, Dottie Metcalf, is coming to Bismarck, and she's part of a very hands-on experiential learning that's going to happen at Horizon Middle School for 3 days. These kids are going to work in teams. They're going to learn all kinds of sciencey, geeky, cool stuff, and at the end, it culminates in a science project that they are proposing, and the winning project between this event and the one that's going to happen in Fargo gets flown to the International Space Station, and this experiment actually gets conducted by astronauts. So it's a pretty cool and unique experience. We are looking for registrants. In fact, what we'll do is on social media, we can put, that's a very, very long URL, so we'll try to put the link in on our feed so you can get to that. But anyway, if you know a young person who looks to the stars, or this might be a good fit, and even if they're not as sciencey and geeky, maybe a little artsy, part of their proposal is going to have a graphic element as well. In fact, one of the things we learned is every time they fly to space, there's a mission patch. And those mission patches are created by artists. So it's just a wonderful chance for kids to work in teams. Oh, and that, by the way, there is a mission patch for this mission. You see that one right there? And Ben Brick designed our mission patch. So he doesn't just do Frozies, he also does Spaceys. But anyway, we're looking for some great kids to join us. And if you're like, well, darn, I'm too old and I don't know of any kids, but I would love to become a sponsor of an event like this, you can also go out there and see the opportunities for sponsorship. And that's it.
Bismarck's premier space cadet, Ben Brick. Okay. Oh, right. I don't know if you noticed, but everyone who came up to do an announcement for another event also had some kind of Million Cups merch on, so we're going to start getting a reputation as, dare I say, busybodies, because we seem to be involved in everything. It's not a cult. Okay. So, we're nearing the end of Pride Month. We have our author panel, so I'm deeming today the Reading Rainbow edition of 1 Million Cups. So here's how it's going to go. We have several authors. I'm gonna introduce them. They're gonna come on stage, talk a little bit about their craft, and then they're gonna take a seat over here. Once we have gathered our literary lineup, we're gonna open it up for a Q&A, and you can ask all of your questions. That's pretty much it. It's a simple concept, and so if you need any help along the way, let me know, but I think we can do this together. All right, so we've got 3 fantastic guests and quite a variety of genres, so this is very exciting for me. All right, so here's our presenters. We've got Patti, Paulette, and Ben, and we're just gonna throw them up here and see what they got to say. We're going to start off with Patti Armstrong. As you can see, she's got stacks on stacks of a prolific author. She says it started out as a hobby, so it'll be interesting to hear how just a little spark of something became a big stack of something. So please help me welcome Patti to the stage.
Hi, thanks. I'm already so entertained. You guys are fantastic. I love listening to Kayla. I hope you have something ready for TEDx because you're natural. And I love 1 Million Cups, so it's fun to be here. I always tell people, no matter how old you are, you'll get something out of it, and you can come by yourself if you want to, and you won't feel awkward. I don't think you shouldn't anyways. So I'm here to talk about being an author. I actually graduated in social work, and I worked in social work. I have 10 kids, and I have more books than I have kids now. And the way I did start out in journalism at University of Detroit, so I took a bunch of writing classes, and then I switched majors. And I realized you don't need a degree to be a writer. Ben, do you have a degree? I mean, I know it's not your turn yet, but but I love your book. I want to talk to you about this book, your book, because I read a lot to our kids. And that Ben's book is fantastic. You go to the library, and some of these books are like, how did this thing ever get published? But yours is so entertaining. And I have a dozen grandkids now, so I definitely want to get it for that. But anyways, I'm supposed to be talking about how did I become an author. Sorry, I digress. And raising the kids and staying home, I was writing in journalism. And the writing just kind of started to come together. I've got children's books. I went from secular writing. I once wrote for the National Enquirer. Raise your hand if you've heard of the National Enquirer. I knew you guys would know about it because I've talked to high school kids before, and they're like, what? And, they never heard of the National Enquirer. It's not a good thing, but... But I did decide not to sell my soul and got out of it. I only did it for a few months. But I did a lot of different kind of writing, and it just kind of turned into books. And I've written fiction, children's books, faith-based books, like Chicken Soup for the Soul type books. I did the Amazing Grace series, and I've worked with 4 different publishers. I've helped people to self-publish their books. And so I brought handouts today. If anybody is personally interested in publishing, or you know somebody who is, you can grab a handout up here on the corner, because it talks about the pros and cons. I have a son. I don't know if any of you know Luke Armstrong. He uses Luke McGuire Armstrong. I use it in writing sometimes too, because that's my maiden name, and that's our kid's middle name. We weren't that creative, I guess. I mean, at the time, I thought, instead of me changing my name, we'll just give our kids, my maiden name is their middle name. But if you go to his Facebook page, it's author Luke McGuire Armstrong. He's very creative, because not everybody needs a website. A lot of people feel like, oh no, I got to hire somebody, I got to have a website, or I got to have a blog. You can actually use a Facebook page very creatively. So if you go and follow him, he's very entertaining. He does a lot of different stuff. He lives in Guatemala. He works with poor kids, and he writes. So the big thing is, raise your hand if any of you, I'm just kind of curious out in the audience, like to write and have thought about maybe writing a book someday. Okay, Ben, you already wrote a book. You're in a different category now. Well, okay, that's good to know, because I really encourage everybody. it's kind of a jungle out there in the publishing world, but once you start reading about it, listening to talks and speakers, look on the internet, get a couple good books, you start to realize it's very doable. And you can self-publish. Ben told me he did self-publish, but I mean, your book is worthy of a national publisher. And it's not that a self-published book isn't, but sometimes there's good reasons to self-publish. You're going to be able to do more with that. And I'm going to tell you just one quick story, and then I'll hand it off because I might be over my 3 minutes here. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Amanda Hawking. She is like a $17 million author. She got a contract with a national publisher, but she started out, she had written 17 books as a hobby and hadn't gotten any of them published, but she had been rejected over and over again. She wanted to see Jim Henson was in the Muppets, was going to be in Chicago. She wanted to go and see him. She was a big fan. She needed, I think, like $300, not very much, and she decided, she read an article about uploading on Kindle and e-reader. So she did that. She had written 17 books, all rejected, so she started uploading them. And her genre was paranormal romance. So a real niche genre, but the right niche for her because those books started selling like crazy. She sells 9,000 books a day now and is a multi-millionaire. And she had only taken 2 semesters of community college and was working at a group home and became this very famous author just by self-publishing. So I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody. And a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I want that to happen to me. But, you know, there's so many different ways to publish your books now. And in my flyers are like the pros and cons. If you should try a regular publisher or just self-publish. So I've probably told you plenty, and I know there's going to be times for questions and answers later. So thanks for listening, and I'll hand this off to Ben. You look like you're next.
Thank you, Patty. You can just bring that with you. I think we have enough mics. Yeah. So now you have to sit on stage. I'm sorry.
Okay, no
problem.
problem.
You have this beautiful glow happening. So. Okay. Next we have Paulette Bullinger. Here's a photo of the book. She brought it with her. She's a hobby historian, and she's kind of working in that mystery, historical fiction. I'm told it's very local. I got really excited because these are like all the things I like. So I already talked her ear off, so now hopefully she can return the favor for you guys. Let me grab that for you. Okay, get your clapping hands ready. All right, it's Paulette. Yeah.
Well, good morning, and thanks for having me here. I was just saying that the first time I ever was in this building was when I was a kid, and my aunt took me to the movie The Sound of Music in here, and I thought it was in a castle. It was amazing. Actually, I'm not, as you can see, the difference in the stack of books. I had a chance, I had an old newspaper clipping from the time I was 16 of a woman who died mysteriously in my little hometown of Huff, North Dakota. And my great aunt had given me that when I was 16, and so I'm almost 39 now. So, no, just kidding. But anyway, I thought it would make a great book. I was a big Nancy Drew reader, and I thought it would make a great mystery book because nobody ever knew what happened to her. And my great aunt said, that girl did not die of natural causes, that somebody murdered her. There was a love triangle. So I tried to give it some, like to Kathleen Eagle and different people to kind of develop a story about that. Well, I worked for a marketing company here in town for 18 years, and I got a chance to go to a Red Cross fundraiser, which was a bucket list fundraiser. And I put my name in a bucket list to help write a novel with another published author. So I won the bucket, and so I started working with a man named Jameson Reidenauer, and we would meet once a week at Barnes & Noble, and he loved the idea of the story. I couldn't find enough about the old newspaper clipping to make it a true story, so I had to make it a historical fiction. And so the whole book is set basically right around here, Peacock Alley, downtown Bismarck, everywhere downtown here. And I've had so much fun with it, even though I've had to have it. Well, was talking about it for the next year's fundraiser, Red Cross fundraiser, and I got an interview from somebody from KFYR, and somebody saw the interview and said, "My son is a publisher in Fargo, North Dakota. I bet he'd love it." So he asked me for it. I wasn't going to go any farther than just having fun writing it, and he edited it for me a bit, and then he published it for me as an ebook. Well, everybody kept coming. We have a business between Bismarck and Mandan called Circle Diamond Ranch Supply. And that's why I loved your book, because my husband's name is Bob, and we have horses and trailers. But so anyway, everybody kept coming into the shop going, "Where's Paulette's book?" And he'd go, "She said it's on the Amazon, and I really don't know where the Amazon is." So I decided to have it printed here at one of the local print shops, and I made it a Pride of Dakota Products. So I have fun going to the Pride of Dakota shows and things like that. But the best part is once somebody has read it, because I have a lot of themes in there, from estate problems to religious problems to bootlegging to whatever went on in 1912 in Bismarck. And people will come and they'll tell me, their personal problems about estate issues and all kinds of things. It's really interesting. So, so I am working on a couple other different projects right now. I am a really busy grandma, and I'm a really busy, involved in a lot of different things. But one of the fun things that I do is I lead tours, downtown Bismarck history tours, St. Mary's Cemetery history tours, and that to me is a lot of fun. It's been really hot, so I hadn't started the tours yet, but now that it's cooled off a little bit weather-wise, I'm going to start doing some of the tours. So that's a little bit about me. I got the name of my book, Nothing Hidden, off of a tombstone in my little hometown of Huff, because some man is mysteriously buried up there in the unbaptized babies row or whatever. But anyway, it says, "Nothing hidden but will be made known." So that's how I got the title for my book. And the murder weapon is on the cover of the book. So that's a little bit about Nothing Hidden.
Thank you. All right, you can hold on to that. That's yours for today. You take a seat over there. Now you're also in the spotlight. People tell you about their estate. Do they also tell you about their love triangle problems too?
And also about their religious mixed marriage problem.
Oh,
A lot of that.
you guys write a book,
So it's
and
a
then
good-
people.
It's a good thing I have a degree in social work. 'Cause
Yeah. I was going to ask you guys about that. There's something going on with the social work. I mean, you got some material there, I get it. Okay. Yeah, where do you get your material? What's your deal? Yeah. Okay. Well, so next up, we've got this illustrator, cool cat, all-around guy. It's Ben Brick. Cool.
What did you say?
You're funny. You're all right.
I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm probably the guy here to help you guys know that anybody can do it, because, I can do it. So just take a step back. In English class, the worst student, because I couldn't write. I was a terrible writer. And obviously, a lot of people in the room can tell you I can't spell worth a lick. So I need a lot of people to help me write. So I just kind of write something, and then I'm like, "Wife, Rebecca, is this even good?" Or and then she's like, "No, you should write it like this." And so the book is basically Rebecca and 8 other people that I just stole from, which is really cool. So I never ever thought that I would ever write a book, but I'm a chronic daydreamer, so I always have these stories in my head, and that's why I started drawing. So I'm an illustrator for that's how I make money, is illustrating. And so I would always just draw out my ideas. Well, it's really hard to communicate well through just straight drawing, so that's how I got into just writing. I really wanted to make something that people could understand, I guess. I'm a big advocate in making something that can help parents bond with their children. I think that that is one of the most important things in the world, is making those moments where you're watching a Disney movie and you're like, buddy, did you see that? And the kid's like, oh my, and you have this like back and forth with your kid. So that's really why, I think that's why I really want to do kids' books. And I raised my hand when somebody asked, I think it was you, Patty, you asked if anybody wants to write a kids' book. It's like, as soon as I finish this one, as torturous as it is to write a book, I was like, sign me up again, I want to do another one. But yeah, that's, I don't know, does that?
Yeah, that's sufficient.
Cool. Thanks.
He told me he's really popular with his son now, and I think that's really the reason he wrote a book. All right, so we got our mug. So whenever you're ready to have a what's the story of Wishbone? I'm trying to name as many reading things as I can. If you think of any, let me know. Okay, yeah. So it's our Q&A. I'll kick it off. I actually do have a writing degree, and I haven't written anything. None of us have. I think we just wanted to hang out and argue about vowels. But one of the things, so I went to school abroad, and they were really interested that I was from North Dakota, because they're like, we don't have the stories of North Dakota. But we have, I made a list: Louis L'Amour, Louise Erdrich, Arabelle Thompson, Chuck Klosterman. We have some really big, hard-hitting authors. And as this panel shows, the storytellers are out there. So what would you say the advantages of being a writer in North Dakota are? We're not on the coast, where, they've got access to all kinds of cool parties and things. This is a party. We're making our own party. But what is something you think is an advantage of being a writer in North Dakota? I told you I was bad at short questions.
No, this is
I told
great.
you yesterday.
This is great. So I think one big advantage that we have is there's not a lot to do here. So you get a lot of time to, the idea of writing isn't as painful when there's not a bunch of parties that you could be going to. That's how I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of
There's too many salty snacks. You can't think straight if you have all those hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah.
Well, to me, one of the fun things about this and going out to do the Pride of Dakota shows and things like that is the people. I mean, they're willing to share if they've read the story at all, or if you tell them a little bit about the story. I like the conversation back and forth, that they're willing to stand there and visit with you and share their story. So to me, that's the most fun part for me. Whether I make a penny or no more from this book, it doesn't matter. It's what I have when I go out to the state fair or whatever. Just to talk to the people is just so much fun for me.
Exactly.
I've lived in big cities, and I used to think Portland, Oregon was kind of a small one. That's where I'm from. I'm from Detroit originally. And the smaller I got, and now I love Bismarck, and I love North Dakota, because I think you can stand out in North Dakota. You don't get lost in the shuffle. The people are amazing. They are different. I mean, you can go from state to state, and there's a certain flavor and character you get. And I've been invited to speak. I've been flown places, and I've kind of taken a step back from that. But I've gone to different states and different conferences. But give me a North Dakota audience any day. I love, they're personable. You talk with them, and it's like you make a difference in each other's world. And so you really have a lot of support when you're from North Dakota from each other.
Be a big fish. Be the big northern and a little slough. Okay.
Hi. This one's for Ben. I am very curious how you came up with the names for your horse characters.
Good.
Do you know any horse?
Is that a horse girl back there asking that question?
Perhaps.
Yes.
They're very creative when it comes to registering horse names. So, I'm just curious, Ben, what your process was.
Yeah, you know who's actually really creative at making horse names is my wife, Rebecca. No, so the horses are all horses that my wife had owned throughout her life. And so we just kind of stole the horse names from her life. And then the main horse is actually one of Rebecca's best friend's names. So
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca.
I've got a quick question.
You got one.
Maybe if we could hear from each of you what your favorite part of the whole process is and your least favorite part. One at a time.
They're writers, so they have to think.
I think my favorite process was research. I spent hours at the Historical Society reading about things that went on in North Dakota in the early 1900s, talking to people about farm practices, that kind of thing, so I had it right. I mean, you aren't going to change a flat tire on a Model T. It's a different deal. And going to car shows, actually looking at these different kinds so you can describe them correctly. But yeah, and talking to a lot of people about the old stories that they remember from growing up and what it was like growing up in early farm days. So I think that research was the most fun for me.
Since I've done different kinds of books, when I did the Amazing Grace book series, I interviewed a lot of people. I ghost wrote their stories, more than half of them, because a lot of people, something to think about if you like writing, a lot of people have stories, but they don't want to write. And I used to come across people with stories, and I'd give them my phone number and tell them to call me, and I would never hear from them. And I realized I stopped asking them to contact me, and I would get their phone number, and I would interview them. But the stories that people have, just like you could be standing in line next to somebody and you hear a story, and I would get done interviewing people and just be blown away with some of the stories. Like one lady, she was stabbed by a blue marlin that would have taken her back into the sea had she not put her hand out and there was a post there. Somebody whose dad was with the mafia and just gave the kids up to an orphanage. And, it's like story after story after story. And we're surrounded by stories, right? And that's my favorite part, is getting to know people and hearing their stories.
My favorite and least favorite part of writing are like right next to, they're like a minute apart. And it's the moment, my least favorite is that moment where I'm like, this book is the worst book ever in the entire world. What am I even doing? And then a minute later, you have an idea that fixes this huge problem throughout your whole book, and it fixes the entire, it starts to fix the entire book or whatever. You just have this big breakthrough. So you go from like feeling like the worst person to feeling like a superhero in like a minute. And I think that's, I love that duality because, I don't know, it's like a payoff and you feel really good about yourself.
We forgot to answer the worst part, and so I would say the worst part is that when you've been working on it so long, you think, wow, what was I thinking? This is really boring. And you lose your perspective.
Yeah.
And so you have to be careful about that. And I think a lot of artists or people, after they've worked on something, they tend to be their worst critic by the end. And plus, they've done it so long, they start to think, this is boring.
And I think for me, the worst part probably was the time that I gave up. I spent a lot of time working on this so I could meet each monthly assignment with the teacher from Mary that was helping me. And at that same time, I had a mom who was in assisted living, and I had a husband. Okay, I have to tell you this story. So I wanted a typical North Dakota murder weapon, something I could use that was typically North Dakota. So I had
poisoned rhubarb pie.
So I had taken my mother to the doctor, and I was asking him, and he's a retired doctor now, so I was asking him, is there something kind of fun I can use for, a murder weapon? And he goes on to explain to me the murder weapon I chose in my book for about an hour, and I finally said, don't you have patients out there waiting, And he goes, whatever. So anyway, I got it from a doctor, and I told my husband, you cannot die while I am writing this book, because if you die while I'm writing this book, I am so out of town here. So anyway, he did have a major heart attack while I was writing my book. He was good. I mean, he survived that, and another one, actually. But that was the worst part, is I think giving up probably some of my time I could have been using for family, mother, whatever. That was the hardest part.
Yeah, I feel that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I have so many questions in my head because I've been dreaming of writing a children's book for a lot of years. In fact, I've started writing 2 of them. They have the same moral and same story, but kind of the whole characters and everything sort of keep changing. So with that, kind of 2 questions I'll throw out. So how do you guys manage your time trying to be creative, and what things you do to get creative to write? Because I work 2 jobs, and it's hard to time manage something that you have a goal of, because it goes into the second question is funding our fundraising and how to pay. I know self-publishing, you might need to have a startup fund in order to get that started. So just sort of the cost, as well as how you guys were able to manage your time to be creative and write your books.
I think finding time is always difficult, right? One thing, I read a book recently called Atomic Habits, and it just jump-started me. So now I wake up in the morning. Like, the book kind of makes you do this. It's not even, your willpower isn't even really a factor after you read this book. It's amazing. But I wake up at like 6:30 every morning now, and I just spend like an hour, and it doesn't matter if I feel like going to the desk, I just do it. And, you know, a lot of days you're just like, that was a waste of an hour. But you know, most days you feel good after you spend that hour, and then you can hit your day without kind of worrying about your passion, you know. And then you had a question about like publishing. I don't remember what.
Money.
Oh, money. Yeah. I am a millennial, and I'm super impatient. So I sent it to one publisher, and they got back to me and were like, no. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. I'll just self-publish it then. And I just saved up for it. I just had like a little cookie jar that I would add to, and I knew that I needed to get to a certain amount of money, because with kids' books, I would assume it's more expensive, and if you want to do it like hardcover, a lot of times it only makes sense to do it overseas. So, because otherwise you're paying so much per book that to make your money back is really difficult. So, yeah, if you want, you should email. We could have a better conversation. Kat Socks, who did Pickles the dog, or I illustrated it, but she wrote Pickles. She was a major help with figuring out publishing, because she's just killed it in the last 3 years. She's doing amazing. So yeah, just if I can give you my email. Cool.
Marry your editor agent, I think is what Ben is trying to say.
If you go with a, am I too done? Yeah. If you go with a regular publisher, it will cost you nothing. They will provide the illustrators for you. And if you go self-publishing route, there's so many choices, and you have to be careful about money. Yours was a little, I mean, you had pictures and hardcover, so that's going to up the price. But a lot of them, it's a minimum amount, under $1,000, and you can get most of your money back once you make those sales. That you get reimbursed. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to self-publish. But read about it, look around. There's so much to learn. But once you start reading and learning, you become a little bit more sophisticated. And always take an author up on their offer to talk with you later, because he's already done a lot of the homework.
And I think with me, I was very fortunate because I worked for a marketing company that had graphic artists at the time that I was working on the book, and so they did the cover design and everything for me. And having it published as an ebook out of Fargo with that company was very helpful, because he edited everything, so it went straight to Amazon. So everything, all the editing was done. My initial cost in printing the book was 1,000 copies for $5,000. So I turned to my husband, Bob, the banker, And he was the one that wanted it printed as a book. So since then, I've had to print it 2 more times.
Wow.
So it's been a lot of fun. So I'm on my 3rd printing. And I haven't really hit outside of Bismarck a whole lot, other than maybe Minot State Fair and stuff. But so once I get a chance to hit the road now a little bit more, I'll be doing some other book signings, things like that.
Keep in mind you didn't do print on demand, right? No. So I did that first too. My very first book that I got a publisher picked it up, but I printed out like 1,000 copies, and that's a little bit more expensive. But if you're going to go to state fairs and you want to have those books, but if you do print on demand, people are ordering it off of Amazon, and they will, like Ingram Sparks, and I forget what the Amazon. There are some. They'll do everything for you. It'll be loaded up on Amazon for you, and they'll fill your orders for you too at a minimum amount of money.
An overwhelming amount of options. Right back there in the middle.
Okay.
Go for it.
I do have a question, but just quickly, I read Ben's book, but I read Paulette's book, and I have to say the research and the history of this region, it brought Bismarck. I love Bismarck, but it just brought it to life even more. So I have to say, I got to plug it. My mother-in-law goes to lunch with Paulette on occasion, and I snagged a copy of her book.
I want the
through that.
HBO series.
Yeah. Oh, it could be. It was really awesome. But I do have a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love reading, and there's so many different styles out there, not just genres, but writing styles within a genre. So would you say, for each of you, did you discover your own style, or is there an author that you kind of tried to emulate a little bit? Just help me out with that one.
Well, for me, it was, of course, Nancy Drew, The Mystery. I I just devoured those books as a kid growing up in a small town. So any mystery book, and then when I grew up, any kind of mystery book, I loved mysteries that you had to kind of wait to the end to see what actually really happened. So that's why I went that direction with this. I thought it would be a fun way to write the story. The lady who was actually died in the so-called whatever mishap in Huff, she is buried up in St. Mary's, and she is on part of the St. Mary's Cemetery history tour. So it's always fun to be able to stop by her grave and put a plug in for my book.
I would say just read a lot. That's the best way to develop your writing, because then it's just there. It just comes out naturally. I have a daughter, Mary, who read and read and read. We homeschooled until high school, and then they went to regular school. And I was amazed at what a good writer she was, but she reads all the time. And so without any instruction from me, she was a good writer. In one book, my son Luke, who's also a writer, he recommended a book, and even though I was writing nonfiction, I got so much out of it, and I recommend it to everybody. It's Editing for Fiction Writers, because no matter what kind of writer you are, they show you how to improve your writing, because you don't realize a lot of times you put so much unnecessary verbiage in there, and it slows people down. And by seeing the examples and seeing what they're saying, you can improve your own writing, because the more you write, the better you should be able to get, but you have to be able to take criticism. I have given workshops before. I've had people ask me to come in and clean stuff up for like a company newsletter, and one guy, I felt embarrassed. I couldn't understand what he was writing about some telemarketing, or not telemarketing, skiing. What do you call it? What's the skiing? Yeah, telemarketing, not telemarketing. I had that in my brain. I couldn't get it out. And I couldn't understand what he was saying, even though I skied. So I fixed it up. I finally figured it out. And I went into this store, this Rocky Mountain Outfitters. We lived in Montana. And I go, oh, you were such a help. He was so angry when he saw what you did. He left for the day. And I said, and they go, that's why we hired out, because he didn't want anybody to touch his writing. And it was horrible writing. And I thought, the sign of a horrible writer is somebody who won't let anybody edit them and doesn't take criticism. Make sure it's somebody who knows what they're talking about. But none of us, when I work for newspapers and magazines, a good editor makes your writing better. You have to be open to that.
Oh, absolutely. yeah, props to Best Shots Kaler for helping me really hone in what I was trying to say with the book. She helped a lot, and she's so humble. She'll tell you she didn't, but she did. And another thing that I think is you don't have to do, actually, you shouldn't do this for inspiration. You shouldn't have a kid for inspiration, but I get a lot of inspiration from my little son. I just watch him struggle with the world, and I'm like, hey, I can maybe try to explain that in a long, over a year's worth of work.
Know your audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was wondering where you guys find you sell the most books. Is it online? Is it at vendor shows? Is it in stores? Where do you guys have the best luck? Where do you sell the most books? Do you sell them online more or in stores or vendor shows?
In the very beginning, I sold a lot online because it had first come out and I had all these friends. So then when I started doing print books and going to events, I sold more of those. I have basically the book in Pride of Dakota stores. You can get it out at Fort Abraham Lincoln. You can get it at the Bismarck CVB. You can get it at like downtown the Embroidery, different Pride of Dakota stores. And so that's where I end up selling a lot, but a lot at just one-on-one. Yesterday I spoke to the Friendship Day at the Martin County Homemakers Group, and quite a few of the ladies had already read the story, and so it was fun to kind of tell them how it all came about. So yeah, I put a sticker on my book, yeah, the Pride of Dakota. No, it's not required, but it gives it a little additional nice thing to say it's a Pride of Dakota product. Yeah.
It's on par with the Dots pretzel. People know that sticker.
You have to be careful. Like, I know somebody who wrote a book, fiction, got a booth at Pride of Dakota. I don't think he sold one copy because you have to find your audience. And Paulette has an audience, and if you can speak at a women's group, a book club, 1 Million Cups, like, I want her book now. And so you have to find some people, unless you have a genre, like what was, that paranormal romance, they're going to find you. Otherwise, it's like, that's one of the advantages of having a publisher is they get the books out there nationally in bookstores. Self-publishing is hard to get into the bookstores because they don't have a return policy. But Ingram Sparks, like, you have to have a representative. They will at least be available to the bookstores. But think about your topic and say, who would want to read about this book? Maybe it's a craft or whatever in life you can write about. And so it might be better to do it on Amazon and then use social media to reach your audience. Paulette you would have an easy national audience, but what a powerful, strong local audience you have too, because wow, North Dakota, we want to find out about this story. So you do have to be careful. A lot of people think I got my book. As a matter of fact, I know somebody who was so proud of his daughter. She does historical fiction. And he's like, oh, I don't need any help. We already did it. She already published her book. And then later he came to me and goes like, okay, now how do we sell it? Because we don't know how to sell it. So I just kind of brainstormed with him, like the Historical Society or clubs or, so that's the bad thing is like we just want to write, but now we have to figure out the marketing and how do you sell it and the business side. So there's a whole nother avenue you have to educate yourself on.
Well, the fun part about having the print copies and going to some of these shows is I'm surprised at how many men like the book. I would have thought this probably been, kind of love gone wrong and whatever, but I have a lot of men who come into the shop. I do some part-time bookkeeping for my husband at Circle Diamond Ranch Supply, and so sometimes I sit there and they'll come in and they'll say, hey, I read your book, that was really good. And for men, that's kind of nice to hear that because I wondered how it would reach, but having the old farming practices in there and and things like that. The bootlegging, I think, really added to that.
Okay, I think we have one more question, then we'll ask our final question after that.
Yeah. Hi, this is a question for Paulette from social media. Marnie wants to know, will you talk about what other book ideas you are developing and thinking about? She loves the Huff inspirations.
Yeah, what's next for all of you? Maybe we'll go that way. What's your next project?
Oh, well, I'm working on a couple of different projects. I'm working on a project with another author, and I'm also working on a project on my own if I would stop being so busy. So I think once, I always say once the snow flies again, and I'm kind of stuck in the house because I'm really pretty much an outdoors person, and I love to do photography. I do a lot of photography, and I'm going to work on. In fact, I was just going to talk to Ben about. I want to write a book for my grandson Frankie. My grandson Frankie is 3, and he can say all the big words of every dinosaur that you can possibly think of, but to be able to pronounce those words that I can't even say and know what they do and what they look like. I was thinking of doing something about Frankie's big dino trip to North Dakota. Because I live about, south of here, about 30 miles is what's called the Stumpf Natural Site, and I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it is where there have been dinosaur bones taken out for many years. It was owned privately by a friend of our family, but he actually left it to the state. It's a beautiful place. And I thought it would be fun to do a story about Frankie going on a dino dig. So we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Patti, anything coming up?
Yeah, I'm working on something right now, and somebody approached me, and a friend who lives in Fargo and is also an author, and it's just about going deeper in your faith. And I have a publisher, Ascension Press is a good publisher, so I just have to get the work done, and it's finding time, and that was a question. So raising 10 kids, I did find time, but I did have to sometimes sacrifice. Like if Mark took everybody camping, I thought, well, I want to go camping. You know, I always want to do everything, and so. But I also am not one of those people like my friend who I'm working on this book with. She has to go away and just work. If you do that, that's nice, but who gets to do that? Not too many people. So I don't know about you guys. Do you just kind of find time in between your life? You probably stay up too late a lot of times, and then your mind doesn't rest, and so you get up early and you keep working. So you just find those margins in your life and make them work for you. And it's amazing, little by little by little, it adds up.
Mm-hmm. Ben, what's your next project?
Well, I have a few ideas, and
That sounds right.
yeah, I want to do more of these. I really wanted to see how people would receive it before I worked on like a series of that. So I do have like 4 ideas for books coming up, and probably the next one that I want to do for this one is like their first adventure together, their first.
You got to get into that map. I want to go to all those places.
I know. There's some good places.
There's some really good places.
And then I also have like I really want to make like a thriller or like a horror story for children. And I don't know how that's going to play out, but I'm really excited to figure it out.
How else would they be interested in the murder when they grow up to be men, you know?
Yeah.
It all starts somewhere. All right, we always have the same last question. Evan, over to you.
All right. Well, Patti, Paulette, Ben, thanks so much for being here. This has really been a lot of fun, actually. Get to look under the hood of this process a little bit. Last question we always like to ask is, what can we as the Bismarck Mandan 1 Million Cups community do to help you guys be more successful in your writing?
I want to say spread the word. Just say, I read this book by Patti, I read this book, and you should try it. I think word of mouth advertising is still the best advertising. If you've read a book and you enjoyed it, but say, I'm not going to give you my copy because I want to keep it. Because if I give you my copy, I'll not get it back, and the author won't sell one.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Because they probably have the first printing.
That's right.
That's worth
right.
more.
Yeah.
I would say if you guys are on Amazon, one of the best things you can do is go to Amazon and give a good review. If you buy a book off of there, And I told Luke I would just tell people, I mentioned it earlier, go to author Luke McGuire Armstrong on Facebook, and you're going to get a lot of ideas, and he just is very entertaining, because I just want to pass on how to help people, because I don't really necessarily need anything, but other than you like people to buy your books, right?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest help.
Right. Yeah, I think same is word of mouth is so important when you kind of come out of nowhere and just make a thing, and you got to have a lot of people just talking about it. Like, did you see this thing? And that's so important with the success or failure of a marketing campaign. So, yeah, I second that.
Excellent. Well, and I totally share. Everybody has a story. We're natural storytellers. If you're looking to write in North Dakota, we actually have some, I know Humanities North Dakota is offering some writing classes. There's the Bisman Writers Guild here in Bismarck, and UND has a writers conference every year, and it's been going for a very long time. And then ask any of these guys. You seem to know. You're smart people. All right, some last-minute housekeeping before we shut her down. Make sure you come visit us in the upcoming weeks. We have some interesting topics happening. Mark it in your calendars. If you, too, want to share the stage, you can apply to present. We want to hear what you're up to. Anything and everything. Just let us know. I have a quote from one of my favorite writers, Zora Neale Hurston. If writers were too wise, perhaps no books would be written at all. It might be better to ask yourself why afterwards than before. Anyway, the force from somewhere in space which commands you to write in the first place gives you no choice. You take up the pen when you are told and write what is commanded. There is no agony like bearing an untold story inside you. So don't live in agony. Tell that story. All right. The end.
You're the best.